What's up, guys? It's your girl Kizzy, and I'm back here with you for another video. In today's video, I'm gonna go ahead and share my experience seeing Dave Chappelle live and what it was like to go to my first actual comedy show. So I'd always been to comedy shows at like your local bars, the basic stand up, woo woo wah wah. But I've never been to like an actual comedy show that's like, you have to pay to see like a real, and not to say that other people from local bars aren't comedians, but like you had to pay to see somebody who was already in the industry. They're already famous, they already have a name, they already have like millions and thousands of followers. So it was very different for me to experience that versus a local bar comedy show. But I would say for sure that it was a very cool experience. I really enjoyed um, being able to see a comedy show in an arena setting, right? It was like a concert, but instead of a concert, it was a comedy show, right? Instead of like cheering and singing, it was laughing and cheering. You know what I mean? And people like woo! I remember even hearing somebody be like, "Oh yeah, baby!" And I was like, "Whoa, this is like some real movie shit." So we couldn't record because he was filming for his Netflix special, so we had to put our phones in yonder bags. But we got to keep our phones, but we just had to put them away, and they had to like store them so you couldn't open them. A yonder bag is basically a little bag they put your phone in, and they magnetize it shut. And then when you leave, you can get it open, and you can have your phone. So it's a shared experience of nobody having their phone, nobody being able to use their phone, record, any type of that. So when we walked in, they did that. They gave us these bags, little souvenirs, which was cute, for free. And then we got food, we got a drink, and then we went to go sit down. We also peed because we had to pee like a bitch. But yeah, we did that. On the way, I did drink and I did take half a gummy and half an edible. So I was lit. It was a good time. I was having a good time. So when we got to our seats, that's when like we got there in perfect timing and one of the first people came on. And when one of the first people came on, it was so funny. Like I can't remember all the jokes they were saying and all the things they were saying, but the first two people were funny. They were so funny. I was like, "Oh my god, this is so funny." And it's like it was just so cool to have floor seats to a comedy show because it's like they're talking. They're not singing, they're like talking. Like it's kind of like an intimate experience, especially because you couldn't have your phone. And so it was just really cool to like see that in real time and like be in that energy in real time because it's like there's thousands of people in this arena right now laughing. Like and laughter opens the heart. Laughter is a great thing to experience. And so it's like it was just so cool for me to just like look around and really take in the scene and be like, wow, like this is really happening. And they had like the stage and then they had the floor seats, obviously, and then like the arena seats. And they had like this thing like at shows, but it was like a little TV at the top, like at the basketball games, actually. Like the basketball games where you like see the people on the TVs. That's the type of thing that they had. So when you look up, you would see the comedian. And it's like, oh, like it was just so cool. It was honestly a really cool experience, and I really enjoyed just being able to be in that space and just being able to laugh because it was actually very funny. So he had three openers and then he came on. And the first two openers were very funny, like haha kiki la la, like it was chill, but it was funny as fuck. Then the third guy came on. When the third guy came on, you could see the energy shift. You could tell that this third guy didn't give a fuck about what he was saying. Like you could tell that this guy was a little bit more open and free with what the fuck he was saying, and he wasn't really like trying to he wasn't really trying to be like just funny. He was like trying to say how he felt and like really sort of ruffle some feathers. Not maybe not intentionally, but like his jokes were just different than the first two people's jokes. Right? So when he came on, I was like, okay, like it's the levels are leveling, right? It's going up. You can tell the intensity, the sort of energy within the comedians is changing. And so when he came on, I was like, okay, like I peeped it, whatever. And then that's when Dave Chappelle came on. When Dave Chappelle came on, everybody stood up and they were like, woo, cheering, clapping. And I stood up for like some of it, but like not really, because I didn't want to like just what's the word I said before? If I didn't say it, I didn't want to um I didn't want to bandwagon. I didn't want a bandwagon because I'm coming to the show to like see what he's about, right? I'm coming to the show knowing that he's been controversial, knowing some things that he's said things about. I don't really know what he says about trans people, but like I do know he did say something. And so I was like, I don't really know what to expect from him. So I'm not gonna just stand up and cheer from him and be like, whoa, yeah, because like I'm not gonna fake it. You know what I mean? So I stood up for a minute, but like then I sat down and people were still standing, they were still cheering, and I was like, okay, like I'm not an hating ass bitch, but I'm not just gonna be like, oh yeah, well, I'm just gonna stand up and da-da-da. No. Right, but at the same time, I gotta give him some props because he is getting on the stage. He is the main event. You know what I mean? So I wasn't gonna be like fucking disrespectful. But so that happened, and then he started getting into his jokes, and he started talking. And honestly, I think it was funny for a second. For a second, it was funny. Like, I was like, oh, okay. But then, it's like the intensity again was just like intense. Like, it started picking up. Like, the things that he was saying and the things that he was talking about, I was like, oh my God, like, no, like, why are you saying that? Like, oh no, like, it turned into like less like this is like so funny to like, oh my God, like I'm low-key fucking triggered, like I can feel my energy tensing up, like oh my God, like why is he saying that, like oh my God, don't say that, like what the fuck, like oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Like it really turned into like a trigger. Like I just and they even made jokes about people being triggered and like people saying that they're triggered and things like that in the world and whatever. But I was just like, no, like for real, like some of the things they were saying, most of the things that Dave Chappelle said, I just was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Like it was very triggering. It was very triggering, which is interesting, but it's like it was just so like it was weird. It's almost like it just got really dark. You know what I mean? Like it just really turned. And I was like, oh. I feel like the first two acts, I was like very like, ha ha ha, so fun. Like it was really good. And then the third act, I was like, okay, he's so funny, but like you could tell the vibe is different. And then with Dave Chappelle, it's like, oh, okay, the vibe was just completely different. Like the vibe, it's almost like there was levels, like I said, like there was levels of intensity. Like the first two people were like, oh, okay. And the third person was like, oh, okay. And then Dave Chappelle was like, oh, okay. You know what I mean? So it's like they kind of uh slid you into it versus just being like, oh, here's Dave Chappelle and here's all this shit. No, like they kind of let you progress down levels to get you in a space where you're like, okay, I'm not really surprised that he's like this, because if you look at the other acts that came before him, it makes sense in the sequence of events. So yeah, when Dave Chappelle came on, I was just feeling very anxious. I was feeling a bit tense. Um, he was saying some jokes about like black people. He was saying jokes about, he did mention trans people. Again, he did say he didn't have a problem with them, but then he like kept like mentioning them and then like making jokes about them. And so it's like I was like, what? Like it was just so weird. Like I didn't really, I was uncomfortable for sure. I was uncomfortable for sure. I'll say that. Um and so I'm just, and it's funny because I could hear like the people around me. Like I'm very attuned to what's happening around me. I'm very attuned to sound, to noises, to everything. So I could hear the people around me, like during all the sets, I could hear the people around me's reactions. And I remember the people behind me, this girl behind me, she was like, that's crazy. Like, what? That's crazy. And then the girl next to me was like, he is something else. Oh my God. And then my sister was like, I was like, what? And my sister was like, yeah, this is when he's getting into jokes that are like not good. And I was like, oh, is that what's happening? Um, and so you could just see, it was interesting to see other people's reactions amongst my own reaction, and then like to see the wider reactions like of people in the stadium. Like when he said things that I felt like made me uncomfortable, weren't really funny, or were like triggering and like making me like, oh my god, anxious, what the fuck, there was people laughing still. There was people still enjoying it. There was people still in the crowd just like going along with it, right? There were still people that were supporting him in like a way of, oh, it's actually funny to me. You know what I mean? And so I found that really interesting, because I'm just like, even though I may not necessarily like what he's saying or think that the jokes that he's saying are funny, there is a whole arena, thousands of people in this room that are finding it funny. There are thousands of people that are like, yeah, like, I mean, I even heard some people be like, we love you, Dave. And I heard somebody in the crowd like, oh yeah, baby. And I was like, what? Like, this is like some real, like, where am I? It was very different. And then you could hear people like, woo! But like people that were all the way in the back, and then like, it was a very interesting experience, but it was also very cool to see, like, and just to experience that space and that energy, what really came with that, and like seeing the lighting and seeing how intimate it was, but seeing how like people would respond and react to the jokes, and like how I would have responded and react to the jokes, and how people around me and what they would say, and what the energy and what the vibe was. At the end, he played, oh, did I already say what kind of jokes he said? He said jokes about I don't remember the exact jokes because I was lit, but also like I was really there, so like I can't. And you think like, oh, you were really there, then like you would know, and it's like I really don't remember, but like I can say some of them, and like some of what he talked about and some of what they all talked about. But Dave Chappelle was like saying jokes about like the N word, hard R, and like he used the word a lot, and like I have a very specific trauma with that word, so it's just like, oh my god, like what's going on? Why are you saying this? Like, you know what I mean? Like that was very much the energy. They said some stuff about vegans. They mentioned Taylor Swift's song, "Anti-Hero." They said stuff about oh yeah, Dave Chappelle. He did talk about how he Chris Rock. He called Chris Rock after he was slapped by Will Smith, and he said that he was the only one he would have answered for. Chris Rock said that he answered only for Dave or some shit like that, and he basically said that like he sees himself in both Chris Rock shoes and Will Smith's shoes, as in like he could be the slapper or he could be the one that got slapped. You would have to like respond on live TV. And I was like, true, like I can see that. It's like duality, you know what I mean? Like we're all like, we all can snap and we can all play it cool. So it was interesting to see that, and I think it was just really cool to just see like people being people, and like relating to them on a more intimate level, and like laughing with them, even just the crowd, but like specifically like the comedians that went up. um and yeah, I wouldn't, would I go back to see Dave Chappelle? No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't pay my own money to go see Dave Chappelle. But would I say that I didn't like the show? No, I would not say I didn't like the show. But would I say that some of the jokes, well, a bulk, if not all of his all of his jokes made me uncomfortable? I will say that. I will say that I didn't really enjoy it. Like his set, I didn't hate it, but like I was kind of like uncomfortable the whole time, or like a bulk of the time. So it's just like, but again, I feel like, and this is what I recognized when I was there, I was like, I'm not even really mad at him though. Because it's not that comedians really are saying anything bad. It's just they're just saying things that like you're not supposed to say, or things that ruffle feathers, or things that are not comfortable to hear, or things that are different than what you may think or believe or perceive. And so it's like I can respect and appreciate the authenticity of it all, right? The realness of it all, the honesty of it all. Even if I don't like and didn't like what he was saying or how he was saying it, I feel like I respect that part of it, right? I respect the authenticity. I respect him being himself and ruffling feathers and saying what he wants to say and saying how he feels. And it just made me think of how that the saying and the notion of like you're not for everyone. You know what I mean? Like, you're not for everyone, and everyone's not for you. So, in the arena, like I mentioned, I could hear other people laughing and loving him. And I remember even hearing people be like, "We love you, Dave," and multiple people said that. And so I'm just like, people clearly like him. People clearly fuck with him. And I'm not going to sit here and be like, "Oh, no, he sucks," da, 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 because he clearly doesn't, right? Maybe he's just not for me, right? And he's not for everyone, and he shouldn't be for everyone because he is authentic, and that's okay, right? And so it's like I saw a very different perspective than what I feel like I might have seen years ago. Where years ago I feel like I might have been like, "Oh, fuck him," like I don't like him, da 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 da. Now I'm like, "Oh, like I respect it." You know what I mean? I respect it even if I don't agree with it. And I think a lot of the comedians, just in general, like I think comedians are meant to ruffle feathers. I feel like they're meant to shake shit up. I feel like they're meant to make things that we all may think of uh into like a funny, clever, witty, and sometimes even dark humory uh giving. You know what I mean? Like they're meant to be giving in a way that's not conventional, right? I don't feel like comedians are supposed to get up there and be like saying everything that everybody loves and everybody likes and everybody agrees with. No, right? Just as a normal, authentic person, even like me, I'm not gonna say things that everybody's gonna agree with or blah, 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 but if it's authentic, then it's real to me. There are people that are gonna love me. There are people that are gonna hate me. There are people that are gonna fuck with me. There are people that are not gonna fuck with me, that are not gonna be for me. And that's okay. Right. And so that's really how I thought of that. And so it's not that I don't like him or that I thought it was bad. I just didn't necessarily resonate with what he was saying or like it or was comfortable with it. Does that mean that there's something wrong with it? Not necessarily, right? And so it's really just about perspective. And I really like that they push the limits. I like that they are not restricted. I like that they're open in what they say and they just say it, right? They're not like, "Oh, I'm not going to say this because this group of people or that group of people." No, I'm going to pick on all types of people. I'm going to say shit about all types of people. I'm going to say shit about all types of things. And that's going to be that. You either find it funny or you don't. You know what I mean? And so it's like that's really just what it comes down to. Um so I just found it, really cool to be in an experience like that, regardless of if the jokes made me feel triggered, regardless of if I was anxious, regardless of if I was actually having a good time. Like I just respected the space, honestly. Like at the end of the day. Um and so yeah, like I said, the first two comedians were super funny. I loved them a lot. And then the third one, he was funny, but then it started getting. And then Dave Chappelle, I was like, oh okay, like okay. They made jokes about people using the word triggered, people being triggered. Like I said, they made jokes about vegans. They made jokes about all types of people, all types of things. And so it's not really like this one group, this one person. Like no, they're just really saying shit. Like, you know what I mean? They're saying what they want to say, and that is what I appreciated about it. That's what I love about it. And so it ended. We got our phones unlocked, and then we walked back to the car, and yeah, it was done and it was over, and I really enjoyed it. I think that I would definitely go to a comedy show again. That's in a uh, live setting, right? Like an arena setting, a stadium setting. But would I see Dave Chappelle again? No. But do I hate him? Do I dislike him? No. I respect the authenticity, and I think that despite anything, it was a very, 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 very cool experience, and I'm really grateful that it was attracted to me and that I was able to even be able to go. So yeah, guys, that is my experience on how I met not met Dave Chappelle. How I went to Dave Chappelle's comedy show. if you would like, I definitely recommend going to see him for yourself, getting your own opinion, feeling him out for yourself, not just listening to me, not just being a fucking bandwagoner. You know what I mean? Because that's never the best thing. That's never the coolest thing. The coolest thing is for you to form your own opinion. So form your own opinion. Anyways, guys, I'll see you on my next video. Peace. Love you.